Here we go.
So, episode 7 of Brunch with Al and Steve, part 1. And we were going to talk about, food, of course. Hat Creek, I got the, I forget what they called it, but it's basically a double bacon cheeseburger.
And I got a chicken sandwich.
Yep.
Which I put some jalapeno and some barbecue sauce, and it comes with pickled mayonnaise.
And a dragon fruit slushy. So,
yeah. Like you care, right, guys?
yeah,
you guys really give
if they're watching, they might. You never know.
Hat Creek is okay. It is what it is. If you got kids, you can bring them there. They got a little play thing, and then but we figured it was best to come back here because of all the kids. So might have got a little noisy. Who knows what our conversation leads into, and
Just easier.
I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to get upset. So hey, do the right thing. All right, so we were going to start off. Go ahead.
Charlie Kirk?
No, the judge.
Oh, the judge. The judge who was involved in these rulings about deportations, and the Trump administration is trying to say that she is at fault, and they want to arrest her for doing her job, basically. I mean, it's not clear that she legally did anything wrong. So obviously, if she is held in contempt, this is a very dangerous precedent.
Right. So I don't know the details this is what I'm understanding, and maybe I should have read up a little bit more on this before we talked about it. But this is basically what I've gotten. If I'm doing anything wrong here, you can comment on here and correct me. But so they're saying that this judge was impeding on ICE agents' arrest warrant for an individual who is coming into court for some kind of hearing for their status as an immigrant. And what I understand is that's not actually what happened. It was either she was called to go speak to somebody, and then at that time there was something happened where the individual they're trying to arrest was either told to leave or go somewhere else, and they're trying to say she did that intentionally so that they wouldn't be able to arrest him. It's for him to be able to get away. And the way the story seems to actually appear is she was just doing exactly what she should have been doing. And it wasn't intentional, and she wasn't, trying to stop them from doing what they were supposed to do. Whether or not it was that, because I think what I'm hearing is that she would not allow the ICE agents into the court to do this or something like that. But in any case, even if that was the case, and they don't have a warrant, that they don't have jurisdiction, or if they don't have authority, well, then she did do the right thing. Like, no, you can't come in here and do that because you just simply can't. You can't usurp the court's authority with your federal authority in a local area, right? And once again, this all goes back to the outrageous hypocrisy of Republicans or conservatives who said that they want individual rights and freedoms and state rights and local government rights, when that's absolute horseshit, only when it, benefits them. At any rate, so the biggest issue here is not so much about the details of what happened. I obviously, at this point, I don't believe any fucking story that they tell about anything, because all it does is take a couple minutes of research to find out that either they're completely misrepresenting the truth, ripping out huge amounts of the information so that the narrative is all twisted, so it's just misleading, misinformation, or it's just an outright lie, which is like a lot of times that's just what it is, just pure, basic, fundamental balls-faced lying. So, and that's what I assume is happening here as well. They don't like the fact that this judge is obviously not going to play their games and is going to go through due process, and they don't want these people to have due process. They just want to snatch them and rip them and take them away. And she was giving them due process, and they didn't like that, and they wanted to take this individual without due process. It's basically, I'm assuming, is what this all boils down to in the end. So once again, they're trying to hold this judge in contempt of court, had her arrested in the court. Was that even legal? I don't know. Like, at this point, the most scary and disturbing thing about all this is, who's going to stop these people Who can stop them? And until some local government, some judge, the military, some colonel or general or even lower ranking captain or something says no, nothing's going to stop these people. I mean, this all goes back to Doge when they were just coming in, and coming into areas and taking over computer systems and looking and going through things with absolutely no authority when they should have been stopped then. Somebody should have just literally physically stopped them and said, no, you cannot do this, and put their foot down. Because I don't know where this ends. I don't know where this ends when it doesn't get violent, or there isn't some kind of sit-in or something where a bunch of people or somebody at least at some high level completely and utterly refuses to allow him to do what he wants, and there's a standoff. And that's what it's going to come to pretty soon, I believe. It's getting to that point, and this is one of those, this is just another thing leading up to that.
Yeah, that was basically my understanding of everything. I mean, it's a separate topic, but just before I came over here, I watched a 5-minute thing with CNN where they tore apart what he was saying about the economy, and basically every single point, there was no proof for anything that he was saying. He was making a bunch of claims about, he'd improved this and he'd improved that, and they threw out numbers, and the numbers weren't even close to reality. Just not even close. Like, if they were vaguely close, you could say, well, we could bend it this way or that, and it wasn't like they were trying to attack him even. It was just, dude, you're just not telling the truth.
Right. And so before we started this segment, I mean, we were discussing about, I was like, well, maybe one of the topics we could have is about Trump's decline. And I said, no, it's not a decline. It's just his arrogance. He's up to his same old tricks, but now he's emboldened to even take it steps further. So where before he might be a little reluctant to just come out and just, bald-faced lie. Now it's just no. He does, he's the gloves are off. He doesn't care. He says things that are so outrageous, so ridiculous, that only somebody in a cult could possibly believe it. You have to literally twist your brain in a pretzel to believe this bullshit that he's saying. And the same with the thing with the press secretary. When she comes out there with a straight face, And
the hilarious thing, though, is he will claim all these things that are just plain false. But anytime you have something that has actually happened and then you sit it in front of him, he will deny responsibility every single time.
Or say it's not true.
Or say that it's just not true. But assuming he admits that there's any truth to it, he will deny responsibility. Right. Oh, well, they did it. Oh, I didn't tell them to do that. I don't know how it happened. That kind of thing.
Once again, this is the ridiculousness of an individual like that who says he knows everything about everything he knows nothing about, and knows nothing about things he knows everything about. Everything is upside down in this man's world. And he's colonized fucking other people's realities too. And he's turned this whole country into a freaking nervous wreck. So because you're living in complete and utter chaos right now. Because everything is just a lie. And distortions of truth. And we've had this talk before, and for the people who can recognize and understand this kind of behavior and who recognize the bullshit, it's extremely dysregulating to the nervous system, to your psyche, and you're living in this ultimate chaos. And some people might argue, look, man, you got to kind of lay back, and it's not as bad as you think, and it can't get much worse, and it can, and certainly there has to be a balance that we talked about before too. That, in my day-to-day life, I still do everything I pretty much want to do at this point, but where's this going? Where the hell is this going? And how do we stop it? This has happened in the past, and anybody who recognizes this at the individual level, when you see people, engage in these types of behaviors and what it does to families or to even workplaces, but extend that into countries, and we know what happens, you get Napoleons and Hitlers and this I don't know what the hell, I always hear say that, and Mussolini's and stuff like that. So this can't go any other way, really. I don't think it's mental decline at all. I think he's just more emboldened than ever to say whatever the fuck he wants to say. That's it, in my opinion. He doesn't care. Any pretense of stability or understanding or any of that is just tossed out the window at this point.
Well, the only reason to want to assume that it's mental decline is the assumption that he might not be around much longer, but then that once again we run into the wall that is, hey, we'd have to deal with J.D. Vance more directly. Which I think at this point, something that a lot of people are saying is Vance and some of the other guys, they're already in control. It's not obvious that Trump is making decisions at all anymore.
Right. Well, any of this Project 2025, which is not his.
But he is Vance. Vance was a huge part of that.
Yeah, Vance is, all intertwined with that. And all these other guys that are, certainly Trump is the puppet. And there's a bunch of puppet masters that go all the way back to the 70s. And they start implementing it in the 80s. They couldn't get Carter to do it. They wanted him to because he was this, Baptist,
yeah,
from Georgia, and they're like, oh, he's one of us. But he turned out not to be. Exactly, extremely the opposite. And all these things they wanted him to do, he's like, no. So they got Reagan to do it for him. But that's where this all starts, as far as Trump is concerned, yeah, they're useful idiots for him. He doesn't care. Look, he'll do anything, any policy that go ahead and do whatever you want, as long as I'm in power and I can be cruel to people. That's it. I mean, I've said this before. There is no thought process behind anything this man does outside of how can I benefit and how can I be cruel. In a lot of ways, to him, cruelty is a benefit because it makes him feel good to be cruel to people. So yeah, that's all there is to that man. Nothing else. Don't try to dissect it. He's a puppet to Putin. He's a puppet to Project 2025 is a nickname for this heritage group. It's called the
Peter Thiel and those guys.
Well, that's a whole different. That's another thing. See, this is a trifecta, and we talked about this before.
Yeah.
This is the Christian nationalists, the combined with now the technocrats, the oligarchs. Used to be the oligarchs of the industrials, and now it's these fascist oligarchs, combined with the Christian nationalists and the white supremacists. And they're all in cahoots because they all love fascism. They want to occupy everyone's brain and colonize it to their, and they all have a very similar interest in mind, white power. So white Christian nationalist power. So, and that's all fine and dandy once again for these oligarchs, now the new techno-fascists, because it lines up with their belief systems as well. That, people that are smart and in their brain, it's only white dudes that are smart, should run everything because everybody else is just too stupid to know what to do, in their opinion. Even though all they've done is colonize everybody else's ideas, and just like they did globally and everything else. I mean, go throughout history and everything that they've done. The only thing that they've done better than anybody else is be unhinged in their abuse and murder and killing and weaponry than anyone else on earth. That's it. Beyond that, they're not better than anyone else in anything. All they do is just brutalize. Their level of barbarism, their level of savagery is unmatched globally. That's it. That's the only thing they're better at. Everything else, like any innovation, scientific, all these other things have been usurped from other people or scientists that didn't want nothing to do with them. So, and some of these scientists, like Werner von Braun or some of these people, guys in Japan, they didn't care what government they were under. They just wanted to do things and go to the moon or whatever the hell, build rockets. They would have done it for anybody. And a lot of those Germans came here and got us to the moon. like 180 of them. Nazis came to America. People don't know that either. Well, a lot of Nazis got hung. The scientists came here and got us to the moon. So yeah, So once again, nobody hears these fucking stories. Well, everybody knows about Werner von Braun, but I mean,
a lot of the other ones, though, yeah.
Yeah. So, but at any rate, going way off the fucking subject here, but it kind of all ties in to what's going on here, and as far as back to the judge, and then we'll wrap this up. This is just one more step towards complete fascist takeover of government, where the courts no longer have any authority over anything anymore. There's no separation of state. There's no separation of power. It's complete and utter control by whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. And like I said, this is going to lead up to a standoff at some point, because I don't think he's been able to put into position, although he's gotten rid of tons of these generals and replaced them with his flying monkeys and other sycophants in all other areas, who once again are just opportunists. Because the vast majority of these guys, go back and look, they called him out as a psychopath years ago, but they don't care because they're opportunists too. And as long as they can get their way, he's their useful idiot.
That pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah.
I mean, just the whole, they're calling it Signal Gate now, but the whole deal with Pete Hegseth and that thing, what blows me away is that they were more than caught red-handed, and instead of like saying what a rational person would be, oh, you got me, we won't do it again, they said, oh, no, it's not classified. We can see it. We've got the transcript.
Look, what was that George Orwell quote? And the final, something like the final blow or the final thing was they made you believe,
That 2 and 2 is 5.
No, well, 2 and 2, but the one about that what you see with your own eyes is not true.
Right. And in
Basically.
fact, Trump has used those exact words. He has literally said, you can't
I
believe
know
your own
you,
eyes.
yeah, I know you saw that, but that's not what you saw.
Right.
I mean, these people literally don't believe their own eyes anymore. And I said this all goes back. Rodney King was fighting back. George Floyd died of an overdose, not because he was choked to death. What else you must have not given a fascist salute. Yeah, I mean, we all saw it. We all know what it is. They're only kidding themselves and the people that are stupid enough to fucking believe their bullshit. So yeah, I mean, their brain is so twisted that they have these logic gaps in their brain that doesn't allow them to see the truth. So they twist their brain into pretzels and they gaslight themselves. So that's what we're dealing with.